Welcome back to Our Mountains. If you remember last season, we had a guest on our show, Venita Caldwell, one funny lady. Well, we've got her back today, and we've got some very interesting things we're going to talk about. Venita, it's so good to have you back.
It is for me a pleasure to be with you, starting your second season. This is so exciting, and I'm really glad to be a part of that.
We're so happy to have you.
Well, I am happy. See my hair? I am happy.
Tell us about it, Venita.
I am happy to be anywhere right now. Well, last season, the day that I shot the show for you, all the time that I was doing the interview and all the time that I was telling the stories and we were taping and getting ready for this thing, I knew that at 3 o'clock I had a doctor's appointment. And I also knew that I had a lump in my breast. And I knew the kind of news I was going to get, and I did actually get that. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer last October. And it has been not a funny year, okay? Sometimes funny ladies have some really unfunny times.
Right.
And while there have been so many days during that time, because anybody who gets a diagnosis of cancer or who has a loss, my goodness, if you lose a loved one, if you lose your job, you know, there are so many things that happen in our lives that I don't want to dismiss. I don't want to trivialize. I don't want to minimize. I don't want to say to people, oh, well, you know, what you do is you just laugh your way right through that. I can assure you that on the day that the doctor came in and sat down and put his hand on my hand and said, you do have breast cancer, Doug and I did not get up in the office and do the happy dance.
Right.
We did not. And there was a time early on that I had to really struggle to get out of that and to find the humor and to realize that just because this was a bad time in my life, that it did not have to become my life. And that's what I have said to people over the last few months when I have talked with them. It doesn't have to become your life. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes not to think that this has become your life. But I want to share something with you if I can. And this is a journal entry that I did early on. I wrote, I want to scream. I want to wake up and have it be a bad dream. I'm nervous, distracted, determined to put everybody else at ease, while secretly scared to death that my life is about to end. And so I had to get past that in order to go on with my life and to find some humor and to find the positive side of my life.
Right.
And I hope I've done that.
Well, you certainly have your sense of humor still. I know that. I kept up with you on Facebook. I know you did some of your journal entries or some of the things that happened, and I would laugh out loud at some of the stories. So tell us about how humor has helped you.
When you are diagnosed with breast cancer and you are dealing with treatment, and one of the treatments for breast cancer, common treatment, is chemotherapy. Well, for me, it was chemotherapy, and the kind of chemo that I had causes you to lose your hair, obviously. And that really was probably one of the funniest things that has ever happened to me in my whole life. And people will say to breast cancer survivors and people who are going through this, they'll say, oh, it's just hair. It'll grow back. It's nothing. Let me tell you something. If you lose your hair, and you are a woman especially.
I like my hair.
Yes, you like your hair. Our hair defines us sometimes. You know, unfortunately, it doesn't define me very well, even on a good day when I had hair. But it caused so much laughter in my life that I tell people all the time, look, you know, and I wasn't one of these people who felt really confident about going out in public bald. I did not like my bald look, and I remember seeing Joan London on the picture on the front of People magazine. right after I was diagnosed, because I was diagnosed during Breast Cancer Month. Oh. And my Lord, you can't get away from it. I mean, you've got this diagnosis, and then everywhere you go, people are dressed in pink, and we're having all these things, and all the magazines are covering it, and you can't get away from it. But she looked so beautiful, you know, all airbrushed and everything, and I didn't have anybody but, you know, my own special stylist, Doug, and we weren't prepared for that. But anyway, so I had myself fitted for a wig, and the day that I got my wig, we went early because I had chemo that day. And so I went early that morning, and it was my second chemo, so I had already begun to lose my hair. In fact, it was just about gone. I had just enough to go out in public still. And so I had gone that morning to be fitted for a wig because I knew if I was going to do it, I had to do it right. And so we went and we had that, and I went into my doctor's appointment. She said, oh, you know, and it was really nice, and they were very complimentary. Well, after chemo, it was very late that evening, and we were going to have dinner in Lexington before we started home. And we stopped at a restaurant that happened to have trees in the parking lot. Yeah, well, it's not really that funny, Rhonda. Okay. We got out of the car, and my husband parked in front of one of the aforementioned trees. So as we were walking under the branches, and this is in January, and so it's dark already, thank God it was dark, and it had been raining, so there were puddles in the parking lot as well. We were walking into the restaurant, and I dodged the tree because I turned around and I said, Doug, I said, you know what, for somebody with a wig, this could really be dangerous. And he said, well, just remember that. Well, we went in and we had dinner, and we came out, and I promise you that Doug is in front of me, and he walks directly into a limb under that stupid tree. Well, I said, well, honey, you've walked into a I walked into the limb behind him, which snatched my wig from my head and took it back into the parking lot. There I am. I said, oh my Lord, my hair. So I turn around and I run to get my hair. What do you do when you're running through a parking lot and you're retrieving your hair? I stuck it under my arm. I don't know why, but I stuck my wig under my arm and I ran to the car. And there I am, pulling my wig out from under my arm and trying to get it back on. And at that moment, I just melted. I sat there and I laughed, and Doug said, are you okay? I said, I have just lost my hair, and I've lost my other hair. And so here we are.
Well, you look wonderful.
Well, thank you so much. And I have friends who lie to me all the time and tell me that, and I know that, I look in the mirror, Rhonda, I know what I look like. But anyway, I'm just so glad that I have hair now. You do. And we are fine. We're doing fine. And I just thank you so much for letting me share this with you. And I hope that your season is phenomenal, and I know that it will be.
Thank you. Well, we just want to share this with you today, and hope that you have enjoyed Venita, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.